Games Workshop is currently acting like a Jane Austen antagonist, raising their hand fan to cover their mouth. Oh, the rules have changed. Good luck to you finding where. Why, I doubt you would even qualify as a governess with your limited rules searching ability. Some of the changes are on a website, some of them are in PDFs, some of them are on the app. I feel like I'm missing some document or other that people have access to. How are you all finding what changes have happened to the app outside of the rules and the point changes that are in the PDFs? How did you know that there was a new rule? My current source of rules changes on the app is saying a rule and waiting to see if anyone corrects me, and that is not sustainable. The rules updates are all over the place. I'm trying to get them all into one place for you and explain the changes. If people don't have a central, easy to understand and easy to search source of the rules, people are going to drift away from the game as they get lost, they can't find the rules that they wish were rules, and the whole thing becomes unfun. We need to have a most important rule, and I don't mean you are you and no one else. I'm finding it hard to get to the right rule or find a rule, even if I know it's there, or even know if there is a rule on it in the app, unless I have the rule code number like 25.05.02. Oh, I shall never qualify as a Regency era governess. My family will be ruined. Across the videos I'm doing concerning the balance patch, I'm mentioning some of the core rules changes in each video that focuses on a different faction. I suppose you would have to watch them all to get the full picture. Oh, the views. Oh, the watch time. Oh, whatever shall I do? The most basic changes are in the first half of my Adeptus Sororitas video. Ones that were incorrect because the rule change in Games Workshop didn't tell me will be in this video or the next one or the one after that. We're looking at the Genestealer Cult. The most important change is that we have a fix of sorts to our army rule. You can use Cult Ambush on a unit that has a character. This is the same as the Tacoma FAQ for their big tournament. You no longer count characters when you're checking to see if every model in the unit had the Cult Ambush ability, and you don't count characters as part of the group when you're figuring out how many resurgence points they are, and you don't bring back the character. It's the same as 10th edition, except the unit isn't destroyed to return by Cult Ambush until the character model is also destroyed. So you can have a very weird situation where all the models that would return by Cult Ambush are dead, but your Biophagus is still up, so you'll have to run them to die in combat, which will allow you to trigger the Cult Ambush rule to bring back the 10 Metamorphs that they were previously leading. It's a very odd situation, but that's what the rules currently are. I thought there may be an FAQ to say whether or not upgrades come back, like the unit returns with any upgrades it started with, and it appears to be the case. It's the same unit coming back with their one-shot weapons reloaded. So it sounds like upgrades, such as the Pure Strain upgrade, the Mark of the Star Children, would remain on the new unit. If it was on the old unit, it's on the new unit you bring back with resurgence points, even though they are totally different units. That's perhaps a reason to upgrade a unit of 5 Pure Strains with the Mark of the Star Children. A unit of 5 is what you'll be bringing back most often. You effectively get 2 uses out of the upgrade. Or you can more or less guarantee that you'll be able to use that upgrade for like 4 out of 5 turns. It depends how quick you are at getting your Pure Strains killed. Even your upgraded Pure Strains. The second big change is that Games Workshop finally got around to finishing the rules patch on the Genestealer Cult from 10th edition to 11th edition. So a lot of our stratagems and enhancements and abilities that were left as 9-inch range, including Cult Ambush, have now been changed to 8-inch range to match Deep Strike. Set up a Cult Ambush marker more than 8 inches from the enemy. Rules along those lines. There are 2 updates to the app that will affect the Genestealer Cult especially. The first one is about healing models. You find this rule under 02.02. You cannot bring back characters when you heal. So if a character was removed with precision, and you have a neophyte unit, and it's in the Xenocult Masters Detachment, which has a detachment rule that lets neophytes heal 3 wounds, you can't bring back destroyed character models. So when I previously said you can't precision out Necron leaders because they'll just come back with the Necron reanimation protocols, they don't come back with reanimation protocols, because reanimation protocols is now healing. And heal was updated while you weren't looking. So if we lose the Icon Ward in a neophyte unit, you're not going to be able to bring back the Icon Ward. There is a second rule that affects the Necrons that doesn't affect us. This means there is still a shenanigan that we can use that other factions cannot. Rule 14.02.01, controlling an objective at the end of the phase. This is the same as the Tacoma FAQ. I just didn't know that they'd put it in the app. And I don't know where I would find out that they put it in the app. But at the end of each phase and turn, the first thing you do before any other rules or abilities is determine which objectives are controlled by the player. So you check who controls an objective, then you do any end of phase healing. So reanimation protocols, which is at the end of the command phase, they check who controls an objective, then they can add models on to heal. The Genestealer Cult have an advantage. The Xenocult Masters Detachment and our cult icons happen in the command phase, so they happen in the ability step of the command phase. So we can heal our models and then check at the end of the phase who controls objectives, and that will determine whether we can score points. So we can sneak a couple of extra bodies onto an objective, maybe reaching an objective we weren't previously on, or adding additional objective control to an objective so we now do control it. This is an advantage the Genestealer Cult has over the Necrons. Now let's move on to our points. Dedicated transports are cheaper. The Goliath truck has to have a unit start inside it. You can't have a Goliath truck that's empty. I suppose that qualifies as a new rule because we didn't have it in 11th edition last week, even though we did have it in 10th edition 5 weeks ago. I don't think there was anyone having empty Goliath trucks just for the sake of it. Something has to start in the Goliath truck. Anything that can go in it, but something. So a Goliath truck is 10 points cheaper for your first 3, then your 4th, 5th and 6th go back up to 85 points. Even in Outlander Claw, I think 3 was generally the limit as to how many people were taking before they moved on to Goliath Rock Grinders, which are the same points as before. 120 points for the first and second, 130 points for the third one. If you're looking for a general transport to carry things into battle, the Goliath truck is nearly 50 points cheaper. That's a whole Biophagus, Clamavus, okay, let's not do Clamavus. It's certainly a whole Locust worth of points. They have good combat abilities, and they're still 35 points. The Aberrants are cheaper, not quite back to the 135 points for 5 that they once were, but 140 points for 5 is not far off. And if you're still having 3 units because you're playing the Biosanctum Brood Surge and you want lots, the third squad is more expensive. The Abominant is the same price, and while other units, generally stratagems, that let you resurrect a character now say they resurrect outside of the unit, the Abominant, if destroyed by precision and the aberrant unit they were part of is still on the table, they would get back up in that unit. It's only applying to specific changes, like in the Hallowed Martyrs of the Adeptus Sororitas, the Divine Intervention stratagem has changed. It's not a blanket rule change. The article summarizing the changes is not a true rule source. Only the app is the true rule source. All glory to the app, apparently. The points on the Atlan Jackal are weird. And this also applies within the app. The divine central point of all Warhammer 40,000 rules. A unit of 5 is down to 85 points, a unit of 10 is 150 points. A unit of 9 is now an option for 160 points. You pay more for 9 models than you do for 10. And the model you would have to drop is a Wolf Quad. There is a rule on their datasheet that you can only include 2 Wolf Quads if you have 8 Atlan Jackals. Is this some weird tournament tactic I'm too normal to understand? Why were people taking squads of 9 bikers? Especially when you have to drop the Wolf Quad, which has more wounds than a biker, and gives you the heavy weapon. You would take 1 less hit from blast or cleave, but they're very squishy. Toughness 4, 2 wounds, 5+ save. They don't stand up to much. So this is either a weird accident that's also been put into the app, or it's something I do not understand, and I'm sorry I cannot explain it to you. Acolyte hybrids with hand flamers have been reduced in points for a squad of 10. Most of the time you're going to take a squad of 5. Those are easily brought back with Cult Ambush resurgence points. They have some nice hand flamers, you don't need to bother with the demolition charges, but don't discount a unit of 10. Now, if there's a choice of a unit of 10 of acolytes with auto pistols and mining tools or with hand flamers, and maybe demolition charges, but probably not demolition charges, I usually go for the mining tools. The damage 3 mining tools are very tasty, especially when you boost them up to have at least one more attack, maybe sustained hits as well. Don't discount a big block of 10 acolytes with hand flamers. They can fire 6 of their hand flamers from a Goliath truck or a rock grinder. That's good, and they're a terrifying Overwatch threat. And they do alright in combat. You get full rerolls to wound against enemies on objectives. That's with shooting or with combat. AP -1 claws. That's the same combat weapon as a Space Marine chainsword. It's decent. So I'm happy with the points drop on them. Same points drop on the Metamorph, so their points remain in lockstep with the Hand Flamer Acolytes. Hand Flamer Acolytes have Objective Control 2, Metamorphs are Objective Control 1, but have a Surge move and have a Feel No Pain, but they don't have the reroll wound rolls, which is what makes the Hand Flamers especially good. No fix on the previous editing out of the Metamorphs rule. The Metamorphs used to have a rule that if there were no Hand Flamers in the squad, you would always surge 6 inches. Going from 10th edition to 11th edition, that additional section was deleted, possibly by accident. It hasn't been brought back. It was a good rule because it gave you a reason to play with Metamorphs if you didn't have Hand Flamers. Put all your Hand Flamer models in a Hand Flamer unit, Acolytes with Hand Flamers, and leave the Metamorphs with auto pistols that are guaranteed to surge 6 inches, which means that fewer enemies are going, yeah, you have to roll a 5. I'll risk shooting at them, you probably won't surge into me, because I do want them dead. Unfortunately, not an option. Neophyte hybrids are slightly cheaper, 135 points for 20 instead of 145 points, so the Host of Ascension will be pleased. The other bonus to the Host of Ascension, even in 1000 point games, you can take the Host of Ascension. Do you remember when they mentioned in an article that, oh yes, you'll be able to take any detachment in a 1000 point game, regardless of detachment size, it's fine? That has been edited into the app in the army construction step about incursion games. It's there as a little extra point that you absolutely will have missed. But that is a rule. It's just below that table that says, if you have only 2 detachment points, your limit is 2 detachment points for incursion. Brackets, no it's not. Good stuff. Hey, it's nicer that you get to play however you were playing in 10th edition in a 1000 point game. You're not told if you only play small games, you can never play these detachments anymore. You still can. That's good. Pure Strain Genestealers are reduced in cost to 75 points for 5, or 85 points if it's your 3rd unit. This keeps their points consistently lower than the Jackal Bikers, and means that I'll still prefer taking the Pure Strain Genestealers over Jackal Bikers. Even if the Jackal Bikers move really fast, the Pure Strain Genestealers are not far behind them and have advance and charge. Everything is green in terms of points going down, points reductions. The things that are orange are weird because Jackals and their weird 9 model unit, and the Goliath truck is in orange, even though that 4th model cost is the same cost as it was previously. That's gone down. Everything's gone down apart from the Reductus Saboteur, who is the same price for the 1st and 2nd model, but the 3rd Reductus Saboteur is now 80 points. The Reductus Saboteur is a really good model. You've got indirect fire, you've got a demolition charge that hits on a 2+. You've got primed and ready for the free grenade stratagem. I can't find any rule in the app to say if someone can use the grenade stratagem for free, it's actually the explosive stratagem. If you've been playing since 10th edition, you know which stratagem has its equivalent in 11th edition. But if you're new to it, the grenade stratagem doesn't exist. The Tacoma FAQ had a section on this. I can't find any section in the core rules being updated or the app being updated to say the grenades is the explosive stratagem. When it comes to abilities like this, we know that if you have the grenades keyword, that lets you use the explosive stratagem. It's just the ability. It is currently unchanged. And it's unnecessary confusion for new players. Now the detachments, which have also changed. All of the enhancements and upgrades, they're the same points as they were previously, but 2 of our force dispositions have changed. The Heroes of the Uprising has changed to Disruption from Purge the Foe, so we no longer have access to an easy Purge the Foe from a 1 detachment point detachment. I don't think Genestealer Cult was doing particularly well on Purge the Foe, as we have a lot of squishy units that die and then come back. but they still count as dead even if they come back because they died, that will give the enemy points, or our ability to kill more of the enemy units than they kill of us is immediately failed because of our army. But with disruption there, that is a disposition that the Genestealer Cult will favour. It's our only way to get disruption, because 3 of our detachments are taken hold, and although disruption is the worst performing disposition at the moment, it is a disposition that suits the Genestealer Cult. Have a lot of units to do a lot of actions or be in a lot of places, and do whatever your opponent is doing, but better. Having more units and units that come back is one way that we can do that. The Xenocult Masses was previously disruption, and was the way we got the disruption disposition. It's now changed to reconnaissance. I don't know why you couldn't just change Heroes of the Uprising to reconnaissance, but here we are. Now we have a second way of getting reconnaissance, and now any Genestealer Cult army at 2,000 points can have reconnaissance by including anything other than Host of Ascension. You don't have to include Outlander Claw. You could now take the Brothers Auxilia and Xenocult Masses, you have a big horde of neophytes, and you can do the reconnaissance disposition. It's not locked to the Outlander Claw. Would you want to take the Brothers Auxilia? It might be better than playing the Imperial Guard. Though if you think that, you probably haven't looked at the detachment rule or the stratagems of the Brothers Auxilia. There is no balancing or rules fixes there. Today's generally overlooked detachment that got a little bit of a help was the Adeptus Sororitas Penitent Host, which became Purge the Foe, has cheaper Repentia, and its enhancements went down in cost. You can't do more than one at once. The Imperial Guard have no update to their faction pack, and they're currently very easy to beat, as there's no reduction to armor penetration from being in cover, which shreds their overpriced infantry. Their relatively low ballistic skill suffers from -1 to hit, and if they are battle shocked, which in 11th edition lasts longer from when you are battle shocked until you pass a battle shock test, that unit will get no benefit from orders. Their infantry costs the same. Combined arms is 2 detachment points, but their infantry costs the same. That's not good. Our neophyte units are cheaper than any Cadians or Kriegsmen you may wish to take. There are several points changes to the Imperial Guard, but most of those are not really applicable to us, like we can't take the Tempestus Scions. We can take officers, but because we can't use orders, we don't care about officers. Kazakin are the exception. Kazakin are cheaper by 10 points for your first 2 units, and by 5 points for your 3rd unit. A couple of Kazakin units are very useful for the Genestealer Cult. It's a way of getting plasma guns and melter guns and getting them very close to the enemy, either by coming on from outflank, like strategic reserves and walk onto the board, or by going in a transport like a Chimera, which is 10 points cheaper for the first 3. Or you could have a very squishy but rather useful Centaur RSV, have the Kazakin inside. They can still shoot out from the firing deck with all of their weapons, but you wouldn't get to use their Warrior Elite rule to have an order given to themselves from the Kazakin, which does apply to the Genestealer Cult. But the Centaur lets you increase your objective control if you got models inside. On the whole, I prefer a Chimera. A Lehman Russ Tank Commander is 20 points cheaper. That's generally more for the Imperial Guard side, because they can give orders from their commander, we can't. But the Lehman Russ Demolisher is 10 points cheaper. The more fun thing is all of the Super Heavies are 35 points cheaper. The Shadow Sword that once upon a time was 440 points went down to 410 points and is now down to 375 points. Although the second one is only 25 points cheaper. Have one Shadow Sword, have one Bane Hammer. You can have up to half of your army from the Imperial Guard roster. That's how the Brood Brothers work. You can fit 2 Super Heavies in there. 1, I find, is usually enough. So for the units that Brood Brothers players take, they are cheaper. And for our other allied detachment, the Tyranids of the Final Day, which is now our only Purge the Foe disposition, the only change for us is that the Von Rhein's Leapers are 5 points cheaper. Or 15 points cheaper for a squad of 6. I think they're a pretty good unit. They can infiltrate alongside your Genestealers. They can heroically intervene for 1 command point fewer. They have fight first, so getting them stuck into an ongoing combat is not a bad thing. And they have stealth, so they get the benefit of cover even if you stick them out in the open to block the enemy's movement. The changes look to be overall a very good positive for the Genestealer Cult. A little bit of points reduction across lots of our detachments will mean that most army lists will be reduced in price. Maybe you can fit in another character. And the rules fixed to fix the previously accidentally broken by Games Workshop Cult Ambush Army rule is now present. I really wish they would stop touching the army rule and breaking the army rule and changing the army rule. It's fine as it was at the end of 10th edition. Have I missed any core rules changes? Probably, almost certainly. You can see me talk about the Adeptus Sororitas in this video, and I will get you a video on the Death Watch and the Imperial Agents as soon as I can. My darlings and viewers, have a great day of 40k.